Hello, everyone. I'm Thor Gunderson, and welcome to Just Asking for a Friend. This is a show where we go out into the community and we meet people, collectors throughout the community, content makers, artists, sculptors, people throughout the industry. And tonight, I'm very excited about tonight's interview because I've been friends with this woman before I got into the collecting community for about a good 6 years or so, for a very long time. And we brought her in to the community and converted her to the dark side very slowly. But she was a pop collector before then, and it is my great pleasure to introduce the queen of pops and all collecting, Miss Elba Ramos.
Hi, Thor. Hi,
Hello.
everybody.
Yeah, welcome. We see Mando hanging out with you over there.
Yes. Oh, I gotta go in the right direction here. My custom Mando here. I
Oh
actually
yeah.
have Alucard on the other side. I'm trying to move in the right direction.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
So yeah, Mando is probably now my number one.
really?
Oh yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, see, I was wondering. Oh, I see baby here holding his leg.
Baby's over there. Yeah, baby's over there. So yeah, it took a long time. It's a custom, but for me, it was a good thing because the payments
Right.
were, they weren't all together. But when I got them, it's just one of those things where you open it and, like I said, my first custom, so many pieces, so well done. Like I can't say enough good things about the piece. It is fabulous. Everything that's supposed to be worn looking looks. At first, I thought it was dirty, and I was like, "Oh no, that's the way it's supposed to be like look."
Yeah.
And just swap outs for him are just limitless. I think I've got like 3 face sculpts for baby and different places, like he can hold them on his back, or he can have them on his feet, like you see him there. So it's it's huge. It's just beautiful. I love it.
He's putting out some good stuff. He's even got a few DC pieces that he's doing.
Really?
He's got a Batman Beyond bust. I know
that came out after this, and I missed it only because I had gotten this, and I regret that. It is gorgeous. Like I've seen people's coming in, and I'm just like, oh, somebody ordered 2 to keep it black and paint 1 white. I'm like, I hate you.
Well, I mean, keep your ear to the ground, because somebody might, because somebody because he made that Vader, and I want that, but he says he's gonna make all 3 versions from all 3 movies. So
nice.
I'm gonna snag one of them because that one is, I think that's my favorite one so far. Anyway, it ain't about me. It's about you. So you are our first woman interviewing on here, and everything. So that's we break new ground with that. Yes, but I like this. I like to start because this is partially about us getting to know you as a person, not just your collecting. So like I like to start out with telling us people where you from, where you grew up, and like how you got into pop culture, and then we'll just get into like collecting from after that.
Right. Well, I am originally born and raised in Connecticut, but I'm in Massachusetts now, so I'm on the eastern seaboard. I think my pop culture love started firmly in the 80s. Like I'm an 80s kid. And MTV, it's like the channel from our TV never ever went anywhere except MTV.
Really?
So I was just immersed in everything, all kinds of music. I love everything. And it's like, if you look at my playlist, you're like, this chick is all over the place. The fashion, the music, just the talk, everything. It was so lively for me. So that love of pop culture never really stopped because the 80s really kind of blew the lid off of everything. You really think back and you really grew up in the 80s, it was the colors, the hairdo, the styles, the music, everything was groundbreaking.
Yep.
And so I think that really started my love for just this appreciation for all things, artsy and just especially with the music. I still consider myself a huge lover of music, and I tend to stay in the older stuff, but I still can appreciate some of the new stuff. So I think that kind of opened the door to everything else as far as like pop culture goes.
I try to tell these youngins all the time, like especially 80s music, because it was like to me, no other era like across the board. Like you might have had the 90s was better for R&B or whatever was better for hip, but like across the board in the 80s, like it was like rock music, pop, hip hop was just hitting its stride. Like everything was nice, and they were playing Michael Jackson on the heavy metal state, like because that's when Thriller came out, and it I still to this day have never seen a musical phenomenon like Michael Jackson was back in the 80s. Right. Like it was men that was fainting. I was like, huh? You know what I mean? So, but, you know, it was like that though. You know,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
and it was just a cultural boom. I mean, everything, movies, like to this day, they still make stuff off of 80s movies, you know, and cartoons, wrestling. It was just the 80s just was the boom, in my
Yep.
opinion, you know. So
Well, like
you
even like you for something for pop culture, I think though it came out in 78, like original Superman.
know,
You
right.
can still look at that movie, and even with the nuances of 78, it still holds in today's day.
Yeah.
It was groundbreaking then. It's still, you look back and you can appreciate what went on back then.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, they played Michael Jackson on rock stations because those genres, they just kind of blew the lid off of everything. It was rock, and it was, you know, the big hair bands and the guys
Yep.
wearing makeup and all that, but it was still, everybody appreciated everything. Rap music, I mean, you know, you
Yep.
got white people into the rap music, white
Yep.
people into Michael Jackson,
Yep.
Black people into the rock. It
Yeah.
didn't matter. And I always count the 80s as the best decade ever,
I
even now.
agree. I totally agree.
So,
Yeah, because I was pumping Van Halen the other day, and that's no BS.
there you go. There you go.
Panama. Yeah.
There
So
you go. I mean, it's good. It's good. And
yeah.
it doesn't matter like where it comes from, who sings it, who's doing it. If it moves you, it makes you feel a certain way. That's what I think about music. I think that's one thing that can unite people, because music
Agreed.
makes you feel like nothing else. Nothing else. I mean, you could be in your car crying, you'd be like, next person be like, I know, I feel you. You know, it's just one of those things that brings everybody together. So I think that's where my love of all that stuff, you know, started. And I collected stuff as a young kid. You know, I wasn't a comic book reader, but you collect dolls or what have you. And, you know, like you get the toys at McDonald's and you make your little collection. So I was always that type of kid that liked my little things, my little dolls or whatever it was I was into. Barbies, of course, was huge for me. So I had to have the house and the swimming pool and everything that came along with that. So, you know, that kind of love of collecting, it obviously grew or matured, I would say, obviously from toys and stuff like that. But even to this day, I started collecting those really expensive Barbies, the stuff that you have to be part of the fan club to get. I probably still have 5 or 6 of those, which are worth a lot of money, but they're you know, they're again a step up, but they're just absolutely beautiful. You know, you've got Oscar de la Renta Barbies. I've got a few of those and some other stuff that, again, I just started collecting and then kind of moved on to the comic book, you know, genre that I'm into now.
Okay. So when would you say your real pop culture, like, you know, getting into, because I know you're a big DC fan.
Yeah.
When did you?
Fan. I think probably with Batman '89. So that started with me. That started for me, that love for, you know, again, I wasn't a comic book reader, where you've got kids who just knew about this stuff way back when. And I knew about it, but once I saw that movie, and then in the 90s when the animated series came out, because if some people know, some people don't know, but Batman is my absolute all-time favorite comic book character. When the animated series came out, it just like blew the top off of like, wow, this is truly, it solidified for me that he was my favorite character. And it was just right. And even now I still binge the show at least twice a year, because, you know, you can get on HBO Max and whatnot. And sometimes I'll just sit there and watch a favorite episode just as background noise, because I love it so much. I never missed it. When I came home from school, I made sure my homework was done. It's like 4:30. It was time for Batman. Nobody bothered me. Nobody say anything. So for me, it was done right. And so that really started my love into the characters, into the voice actors, and that sort of thing. So then, of course, you start with the MCU stuff and the Marvel stuff, and that really got me into doing into reading like the graphic novels. Although I'll tell you, with like the collecting and even the graphic novels, I tend to stick to DC. I don't know why. I think just because of Batman, Joker, Harley Quinn, those are pretty much kind of like my trinity as far as characters go. So I kind of stick to the DC storylines and stuff like that. But once that Marvel, you know, cinematic universe started, it was just like, whoa. I think it just, you know, those 10 years, that decade, I think that we call it, it just encompassed everything, I think, for everyone that really, really was into those movies. You knew you were going to hang around for those end credits. You know, people were talking about these spoilers and Easter eggs. And that just, I mean, that was just 10 years of just this I don't know. It's hard to explain what that was all like. You know, that major 10 years of, you know, whatever that phase was. I don't even remember what. I think, what are we in phase now? 4 or 5?
I done lost count.
Yeah. So just that, and you knew that whatever was coming out, you're like midnight, the night before it opens, or the day it opens, or the, you know, I mean, my sister and I were on there getting tickets. We're like, and you know, on the phone trying to get tickets, making sure we get our stuff for like opening day, because it was just this excitement of, you knew what was probably coming, but you needed to see it. And so that I think also just entrenched me in the Marvel stuff as far as the theater. But you know, collecting graphic novels for me is really DC. That's where I kind of keep my focus.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna go back to the animated series for a second. It's 2 episodes that really stand out for me. One of them I don't know what it's called, but it's Batgirl got hit with the Scarecrow's fear toxin, and she I guess she dreamt her worst fear. Like the whole episode, like you watch this, she's like, what is going on? And her worst fear was that her father, like that she died like in her dream, and her father found out that she was Batgirl, like she died as Batgirl.
Okay.
And then so he went full bore as he found out that Bruce Wayne was Batman. He was chasing hunting down like a dog, and then he even got Bane out of jail to help him catch Batman. And then at the end, she finally wakes up and finds out.
Yeah. I think that might have been 2 in the later.
Oh, it's called Over the Edge. That's what it's called. Yeah, it's toward the end of the
yeah. Because I think I gave up when they started changing what I was used to.
I like that. I like that look better for some reason. Like when it was and especially when Superman started coming in. Like in my second one, I was gonna talk about, it's called World's Finest. When him and Superman teamed up, and then like Lex Luthor and the Joker joined, and they were trying to because Lex Luthor, the Joker, had found this jade dragon that was made out of kryptonite, and they didn't know it was made out of kryptonite. And like people were like dying of cancer from this thing because it's emitting radiation. Right. And then Joker found out what it was, and he went to Lex Luthor and said, "Look, you give me $1 billion and I kill Superman." He said, "How you gonna kill Superman? You could barely deal with this human in this costume." And he showed him. He said, "This is solid kryptonite." He said, "Okay, you know I can't." You know, so he let him do it, and it's a 2-parter, and it's called World's Finest.
I'm gonna have to catch those.
Yeah, then. It's on there. Yeah, you know, and that's one of my favorites. You know, but
they did good actually with like Batman Beyond was very good.
Oh yeah.
The Batman is really good. I think I have 2 seasons of those, or it's a really long first season. But what I did, I think sometime last year, was I actually sat down and watched Batman Beyond completely through because I don't think I had, or you know, it's one of those shows you catch after school, but sometimes you get all the repeats. So because I could actually sit down and watch it on HBO Max, I sat there and watched the whole thing through, and it's also an excellent series. So I think they kept up that, you know, that quality from the animated series, just in different, you know, tones. But the Batman Beyond is also one of my favorites.
Did you watch the Batman Beyond movie, Return of the Joker?
I did.
That's another one of my favorites, because you see what ultimately happened to the Joker. Right. And then something happened to Tim Drake and everything. Right. And that was like, I was like, wow,
yeah.
That was serious.
Did you see my post about the Gotham by Gaslight? Was it?
Yeah, I didn't see that one. I want to see that one.
Ooh, yeah. Lord, and I didn't realize that came from a graphic novel.
Oh yeah,
I have to buy that.
All that stuff. I like Under the Red Hood. I think is my favorite one.
That was very good.
Right, like I'll say this: DC definitely outdoes Marvel in the animated movies. Yeah, like it ain't no question. Yeah, that one, and I remember when I turned you on to was the Assault on Arkham. Yes. That one was vicious, and Superman. I mean, Batman was barely in that, and that thing was a monster.
Absolutely. And I like the fact that they take chances too with the animation, because sometimes like I'm doing something, all of a sudden I hear a curse word. I'm like, did they just say that? Yeah. Like they really take chances. And I like the fact that they do that, because then they'll tell you it's an adult animation, you know. Yeah. But I like that they kind of push the envelope with the animation, that because they and actually I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, why don't they do this with the movies more? You know what I mean? Because I guess they had to keep it family friendly, but it's just like, you know, it's like the Batman when that came out recently. I think Rodney and I agreed that we were absolutely in love with that movie because it was dark, it was gritty. He and I can definitely agree on that type of stuff, is that I do like those really, you know, something like Batman, you got to keep that a little more gritty.
Oh
It's
yeah.
not always
Yeah.
for the kids, you know.
I think the problem with them is with the movies is like, see, Marvel has their own studio. Like they don't have any, flack from anybody, but so they can do they can open to do they choose to do a little comical, but still.
Right.
But DC doesn't have it. Like Warner Brothers is still their parent. So like, they don't have the if they but the problem is they could have been running things because all their heroes was under one blanket. You know what I mean? Like Marvel doesn't have that. Like somebody like they didn't right, exactly. So like they could have been doing their own DC universe long time ago, but
well, yeah, and I think most people tend to agree that they messed up heavily with that when what they did was they tried to play catch up too quickly with the MCU. And they, Man of Steel really, when you think back about it, that should have been the pinnacle start of a really fabulous decade for
it was supposed to be.
It was supposed to be.
Yeah, it was supposed to
be. And they dropped the ball so many times on that. And that's why people they're like making fun of them. They're fodder. Nobody believes in what they're doing anymore because it's just like we're gonna start over, we're gonna start over, we're gonna start over. If they had started right, they didn't need to start over at any one time. They would have had their decade done by now. And they just rushed it too much and just too many changes.
10 years ago.
And it's just it's upset. Man of Steel, that movie obviously never came out with a second one, but by 1.5 years, 2 years, they should have had their second one out.
They should have
had their second one out. And instead of concentrating on individuals like they did, BVS pushed it way too fast. Everybody's excited and all this, but then when you think back, you're just like, that movie should have been sitting on for 5 or 6 more years. And it's a shame because, like I say, Batman's my favorite, and so those movies, for Batman movies, I always want them to succeed. The rest of them, I'm just like, I don't even care anymore because you guys just they just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I know.
They just don't know what they're doing, and instead of saying if you're gonna start at this time, do it right, they still manage to mess it up somewhere along the line.
Yeah,
because even the Batman. What the part 2? What are we waiting another 2 or 3 years for that? Why?
I get it. You tell me.
Why? People are like, what the hell? What? Just get it done.
Right.
Get it done. You know your money makers. You know what you've done right. You know what you're getting really good critical acclaim on, not only from the critics but from the fans. Work on that stuff. Stop. We're gonna get rid of this person. We're gonna bring this person. Nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares.
But I mean, that's another problem I got with DC. I did enjoy the Batman. Don't get me twisted. Don't get me wrong. But it's like they're doing all these alternate versions. Like instead of doing like Marvel, have everybody in the same. So it's like, okay, well, where are these people at? Oh, they're in another universe. Like what?
Right.
You know what I mean? So
and I think at that point too, you're right. And I think at that point, they kind of had to do that. There was nothing keeping it together.
Right.
There was no glue to bring the Batman in. Now, what they did as a standalone film, I think, was superb. It was a little long for my taste, but they had nothing for that to connect to.
Right. And
so it came either at a wrong time. It shouldn't have never come right. I just don't know. But it's just like now all these, they're showing all what's coming up. And literally everybody on Facebook is like, we just don't care anymore. We don't care. We just don't care. And that's their own fault because the fans, from what I see, and I'm a huge DC fan, is we stay very, very, very loyal to that brand, no matter how many times they screw us over. Because we want them to succeed. I mean, you've got such amazing characters and you still can't get it right. So at this point, I'm just like, whatever. I don't even care. Bring on the Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3. I don't know, you know?
I don't see that. So what was I gonna say? Before we get into the pops and collecting everything, how'd you feel about the Nolan trilogy?
Unpopular opinion. It was forgettable for me.
Okay.
It was forgettable. Sometimes I want to go back. Funny enough, my ex had gotten me for a Christmas a really nice box set. And I was like, thank you. And in my mind, I'm like, I did not like the movies that much. I'm like, it was really nice set. And I came out with all these, books and things and, fold outs and stuff. And it's, first of all, Christian Bale as Batman was a dud. Absolute dud.
I couldn't stand it.
Bruce Wayne, beautiful, because the man is absolutely gorgeous from head to toe.
Right.
And he's got that swagger. I mean, if you've watched him in American Psycho, you know he's got that swagger. The voice for Batman is just
Thank you.
The first time he did it, like, what are you doing?
Oh my God, I hated it so much. Oh God.
And I think I'm trying to remember so the first one for me was actually was probably my favorite. With the Scarecrow, and I know Katie Holmes was in it, and Ra's al Ghul, right, was in it.
Yeah, that was it.
When was the Joker? The second or third?
The second one. The second one.
And the third was Bane.
Bane, yeah.
Yeah, that whole thing. And listen, I love me some Thomas Hart, some Henry Cavill, but they screwed that character up. I just don't like the way they made him. Like, it just, I don't know. Come on,
Bane or the Joker?
Bane.
Okay.
It didn't work for me. No, the Joker, and it's one of those things where they praise his performance, which was absolutely wonderful. But for me, it was just like he was the Joker. I don't know. It's hard for me to put a finger on why I feel like that. I think he did an absolutely superb job. I think the movie as a whole was. It was one of those things where it felt too long. It's like when you thought it ended, then they're on top of a building and he's like pushing. And I'm just like, what hour is this? They really could have cut that down by a good.
I felt like that about the Bane one, actually. It got to a point where I'm like, okay, what are we doing?
Yeah. And I did not like Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. It just did not. For me though, Michelle's always going to be Catwoman. And I think that's probably why I'm stuck on her slink. And not that Anne Hathaway wasn't slinky and stuff, but it's like, it's the Princess Diaries. I'm just like, really? She's Catwoman? So for me, it was a forgettable trilogy. The first one was my favorite. Heath, of course, did an amazing job, but Bale was an absolute miss for me.
Oh my God.
As Batman.
Everything good. And you.
Yeah,
like, oh my God.
Exactly.
Shut up.
I think the grittiness of it, coupled with Heath's performance, was I think what got most people, because you're coming away from this 89 Returns, this very bright, which I personally liked. I thought it was great for the time, and I really would have liked to seen a third one from Burton. So I think that's what caught people, was that it was just always dark, and it was what people wanted to see as Batman. I think that's why a lot of people like Affleck's Batman, because you see like everybody.
He's my favorite.
Yeah, you bring up the fight in the warehouse. It was like, oh yeah, we're doing
that. Was it. That was it.
You were like, yeah.
But even before you get there, it's like when you look at him, if you line them all up together and you look in the pages of the book, he looks the most like Batman out of all of them, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
He does.
And even
he does. You're right. He does.
And even with the voice, he had a voice changer, so it wasn't like, that's why he sounded. He wasn't doing this. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So it was like, Jesus, I hate it. But I will say this about Bane. I thought Bane. See, I'm weird. I thought Bane was funny. Like
he was.
And it's like me and my friends used to do Bane for hours, and we'd be like, Paul,
the voice.
And you betrayed us, man. We used to do.
Have you seen the new animated? Well, it's not new anymore. Harley Quinn.
Yeah, you told me to watch. I remember I was watching it. Yeah.
So Bane, in that, they took the Bane from the movie and did that with a comedic. Oh my! He has probably got to be my favorite character, because he gets mad at everything and everybody's always bothering him and like poking at him. So he's at the bar mitzvah. He's like, I'm gonna blow up this bar mitzvah. Yeah, like this is stupid stuff. And you're just like, the voice is perfect. I'm like, oh shit, I get it. Yeah, and you're right. The voice, it was nice, and Tom Hardy plays those roles, any role he's given, just to absolute perfection. I just think they did the character really crappy.
Yeah, no,
I think they did it really crappy. And then who was the girl? Was that Talia?
That was Talia.
That was
Talia. Yeah.
Yeah, just
I ain't like it. They should have got my girl to play Talia.
And yeah, well, that's who she played in the animated boy. She was awful. She was a horrible, horrible baddie. But yeah, I mean, it's sometimes I tell myself, watch them again, and I just can't bring myself to watch them again. So I think I watched the first of the trilogy maybe 2 or 3 times, but just can't bring myself to watch the second and third again.
That's weird. That's the one I watched the least, even though I liked them all. I mean, the last one I could, whatever, but I think I watched the second one the most. If I go back and watch,
Right.
But
I mean, he blew it out of the water. I mean, he brought such a humanity to it, even though he was off his rocker.
Yeah.
Again, it wasn't this colorful over the top. It was just this straightforward, he's a criminal, he's off, he's just completely crazy, but he's giving you knowledge at the same time when you're thinking about what he's saying makes absolute sense, and he's so calm about it. So, that definitely, his turn as Joker was just amazing.
And even Two-Face wasn't too bad,
It wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't too bad, yeah.
Yeah.
And they've done better stuff with, like, the Long Halloween, the animated, that was really good. Josh Duhamel did a really good job. I actually just watched that yesterday again. And I thought that was really good. I guess I'm so used to the animated series too.
Mm-hmm.
So the Joker for me is, even though Jack Nicholson played that version, to me, I always hear Hamill's voice.
I do too.
That's my Joker. That's my Joker.
I swear to God, the first time somebody told me that was him, and I said, Mark Hamill, who? They said, Luke Skywalker. I said, you got to be joking. I said, that ain't Luke Skywalker. And then, I didn't believe it. And they kept putting it on the. I said, that ain't no Luke. And then one time they had a behind the scene, and they actually showed him doing it.
Yes.
And I was like,
right? So good.
So
good. And just to see him, the way he kind of changes his face and that laugh is so specific. And even when I first heard it too, I was like, say what? Who's doing that voice? And then seeing him do it, I'm like, oh, I love it. It's so perfect. So I think I kind of, even though I know it's, way back in the 90s, I think personally, for me, I tend to compare a lot to that.
Right.
And just to that Joker, to that Batman, and just to those characters. Just like when I see people putting out, like the Penguin that just came out, the statue that just came out, I'm just like, yeah, that's the Penguin, but that's not my Penguin. I keep comparing it to what I think I grew up with and what I'm so used to. And even like Two-Face, we haven't seen that reveal, and I hope it lives up to my personal expectations for me. Because I know, that's going to, for me, if that works out completely, it's going to be a day one PO. I'm dying for that character.
I already like it so far because I didn't like the Prime one because the Prime one is all torn up. I like to see him smooth and that, like that. That's what I like.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree.
Yeah,
Same thing with the Riddler. Like we had I think Iron Studios put out 1/10, which is really good. And I don't know why the heck I never ordered it, but that looked beautiful. So for me, I'm used to seeing the animated version where he's like you say, he's smooth. He's got he's got that bowler hat. He's got his cane. And even like in Batman and Robin, was it? Jim Carrey, they had him dressed up like that.
Yeah.
When you put away the craziness of his performance, they had him dressed up with the whole suit, the bowler hat, looking perfect in a couple of scenes. And that's like, so a lot of that too, I kind of carry into the collecting and stuff. Just like there's a certain vision that I have for what I'd like to see in my home, and so for me, most of that stuff misses the mark because it's just, I know that they take them on their demeanor, like the Joker stuff. There's so many Jokers out there, and I probably like 2 of them just because I know he's kooky and crazy. But sometimes the stuff looks just so over the top for me. It's like he makes all of that, but he's still smooth. He's calm when he needs to be calm. It's not this.
I was just about to say that.
Over.
That's the thing about Hamill. Hamill had that perfect because he could do crazy and do laughing. He could be funny. The next thing you know, he's whispering. He's very. I was like, this dude, man. It was like, what I mean.
I loved it. Yep, I loved everything about that. I mean, that's still to this day for me. Movies, animation, anything. The animated series is still the top. It's still the top. Yeah, absolutely agree.
So okay, now getting into, you started collecting pops before you got it. Before you ran into the Dark Lord, and everything. so tell us about how you started collecting Funko Pops.
So that was kind of a fluke thing. I was very big into The Walking Dead. My sister actually started collecting them before I did. And so she showed me the Governor, and I forget what season that was from. And she goes, look, there's a little Governor pop. So I was like, what the heck is a pop? So my ex and I started this thing. I got him one for his office. And so what we started doing was hiding it in different places. Like one day I came onto my car and it was in my driver's seat, or I put it like, somewhere so he'd find it. And so we kept doing that with it. And I was like, let me see what these Funko Pops are about. That was the end of that. So they have been out for quite some time, but one thing about them, obviously they're very affordable. They can get very out of control because they're so small and affordable. But the thing I like about it is, first of all, the licenses are extremely easy to come by for these companies, for this company to do that. But you know, with the Pops, it's like they keep doing these new iterations of it. So you've got, you know, just something that pops into my head. I say all of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy. So you have all the movies. So if in, you know, number 2, they're holding a certain thing that was, you know, really funny, they might have that on the Pop. So, you know, it's one of those things where it brings you back to a song, a part in a movie, a part in a cartoon, and some of them are scented. And it's just one of these, oh yeah, one of these things that you look at it and you're like, I remember that part. It just kind of brings you back. It's very nostalgic. Like I've got My Chemical Romance, I've got almost all of the Game of Thrones, a crap ton of DC, Marvel, Bob's Burgers, Walking Dead. I've got a lot of. Just this thing is that when they continue, you know, like the dragons, they've got the ride-ons. I've got the dragon with like Daenerys on it, and just these huge movie moments. A lot of Disney. Disney is like notorious for getting it right. Very, very right. And so like if, you know, people who watched The Little Mermaid, if they remember when they were singing Kiss the Girl, right? And they're in the boat. So I have a Pop where they're in the boat and then the fish are stuck in the water. If you remember, the fish were coming up with the water. It's just stuck in that moment. It's just one of those things that it's just like, I don't know. It's very nostalgic, very cute. And so for me, it's just one of those things where you're just like, wow, it gives you a certain feeling, you know what I mean? So I've stopped, you know, kind of collecting a little bit only because it's very much out of control. And I think even 2 years ago, I was saying I got over 600, and I'm sure I've got well over that now. Yeah. And it can get out of control because they're so affordable. They're so affordable. And so, I mean, I'd be pre-ordering, you know, whole collections at a time. Because, you know, they came out with a new collection. They came out with, which I haven't gotten one, I'm surprised, for House of Dragon. You know, the Game of Thrones spinoff. They came out with stuff for that. And so, but yeah, some of them are boxed, but I'm an unboxed girl. I know that's probably taboo because people like to
I've heard,
they love to keep their stuff boxed. But the thing is that when I buy them, I don't buy them for resale. I have some in a box only because there was just something about it that said, just keep them in the box. Like I've got my Clockwork Orange, Alex DeLarge with the mask. That's still in a box. I've got the BB-8 where he's got his little thumb up. That's in a box. I've got Ant-Man where that's the smallest Pop. So he's got his little Ant-Man figure, like teeny, tiny. That's in a box. Wow. But for the most part, I don't care how the boxes come because they come out of the box. As soon as I get them, box goes in the garbage and they, you know, they get put. I know people are like, oh my God, how dare she? But for me, it's I want to see them. I want to display them. I want to enjoy them, you know? So that kind of just started. And again, it was just so easy to collect. So it can get out of control very quickly. And I hear that across the board from so many, you know, Pop collectors. It's like that thing can get out of control that quick because you're talking $10, $12 a Pop.
A Pop, yeah.
$600-$700 a statue. So it's easy enough to collect whole collections and, you know, whole shows, whole movies, whatever, you know, it's like I got the Golden Girls, you know, stuff like that is just back to, you know, cool little parts of your life and just remembering like good memories and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've heard some of these things can get real value. Like, you know, I've heard some Pops that people sold for like $1,200. I was like, what? A Pop? You know? And yeah, you know, because like I've watched Seth a few times and he was saying some of these Pops. And then I remember one time you were talking about coming to New York Comic Con and standing in line for some Pop that was coming out that was like a con exclusive or something. I couldn't remember what it was, you know. But
and the thing about the con exclusives is that they're making them more accessible, but some of them are not because some of them they're selling maybe just in Tokyo or just at a certain shop that, you know, is nowhere near me. But you've got Walmart exclusive, Walgreens exclusives, Target exclusive. So it's gotten to the point where it's a little overwhelming. So I just have been concentrating on stuff that it just, when I look at it, I'm like, okay, I definitely do need that one. I'm not pre-ordering whole collections anymore. I'm not doing any of that stuff anymore. Just because it's like, how many Sleeping Beauties can you have? How many Ariels can you have? And they'll put out a new one every year. You know, this one is they're spinning and their dress is changing color. And I'm just like, I don't need that. I don't need it. So it's one of those things where I had to kind of just say, okay, this is enough because when is it not enough? You know, my whole house would be full of Pops if I kept going. I'd have every wall really. I kid you not. Like right now, when I when I eventually get down to getting these really out and displayed, it's going to have to be a custom situation.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's how, I could get, bookcases and stuff, but the way you want them displayed, you don't want them, all at the same level. You want them kind of coming down so you can see them.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got like my Game of Thrones ones. I've got a blanket that had that. So like for the season premiere, I had that blanket out. I put all my pops out. It's one of these things where it just kind of immerses you into the world of it, and they're easy to get. So I can see why people do collect them and why it's easy to do that.
Yeah, I've had a few, and I like them. I like them as kind of like companion pieces, like you can put them with, what I mean. And I had a few of them, not too many, but
I think I got Rodney to get the Bruce Lee one.
Yeah, he's always. We still trying to get him to get the bust, but that ain't
oh boy,
but I don't think it's gonna happen. But anyway, so like then you met this Sith Lord who brought you into the statue game, and let's talk about that.
I need two more jobs. Like, well, I forget the family from in Living Color, the Jamaican family that had like 12 jobs.
Yeah.
That's
the
what
Desmonds,
I need.
I think it was. I can't remember.
Well, and I don't remember how we actually got on the subject, but I know your show was, I believe, right in its infancy. And you said, come on, you're a pop collector and whatever. And I didn't realize this whole world existed I just didn't know it. And I think my sister had gotten the Joker and Harley statue where they're dancing and she's in the jester costume. I think that's a comic book cover. It's one of her favorites. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know this was so extensive. I just didn't know it. And once I got into it, I was on like, Sideshow all day, every day. I was like, what's coming up? What's on sale? What can I order? What's this? Oh, I like that. Oh my goodness, they made this.
Everybody goes through that.
Yeah. And it's funny. So I was thinking about the other day, I was like, I haven't done that in so long. But I think too with me is, first of all, I do not have a disposable income like that. Even if I wanted to, I just don't have it. Though I also think about on the flip side, if I did, would I? Because again, like the pops, where does it all end?
True.
You could have the disposable income, but what are you going to have, an extra house? You got people selling off pieces because they need to make room for other pieces.
Yeah,
I
that makes sense.
A couple of pieces because I needed some money, and it was okay for me to do that. I felt okay, selling those pieces. Yeah. But I don't know that I'd want to keep collecting to say, well, when I run out of space, I'm going to bring other things in. I don't know that I could do that. Like, with Mando, it's one of those things is like I purchased it because I knew that I was going to enjoy it. I knew I was going to enjoy looking at it. Also, the only thing I think I've changed my mind on overall is potentially getting rid of some of my 1/10, only because I started that Marvel diorama, and I just never finished it. So I've slowly been selling off some of those pieces. But overall, my focus is definitely no bigger than quarter scale, and that's I think Mando's quarter scale. I have the Huntress that I got from Junior and the Catwoman. It would be rare for me, I think, to really push constantly in that direction. My 1/6 that I get from Tweeterhead, for me, are perfect size. They're still big. Their 1/6 scale is way bigger, and their quarter scales are way bigger. So you're never getting that scale. You're always getting a little bigger. But just overall, I think that love for the characters, again, seeing that kind of come to life, Batman, Batgirl, Wonder Woman, which was my first one, if you remember my Tweeterhead, Wonder Woman, is just seeing things come to life in front of you. And I think that again brings up nostalgia. And you see a lot of these collectors who are really into their like the X-Men, or they're really into DC, or they're really into whatever, like the Punisher or whatever like that. And then you see that childhood come to life. It's right in front of you. It's there for you to enjoy and to admire. And, some of those things you look at and you're just like, I can't get tired of looking at it.
Right.
And that's how I feel about, what I collect. And again, even if I had the disposable income, would I just be ordering? Probably not. And I think that helps me to appreciate my collection that much more, because most of the stuff I got to save up for. And I'm not just getting everything that comes out. No, I want to get everything, that I like that comes out on the market. But I don't know. It's so nice to just look at them and to admire them and remember why you love that character and remember how you felt when you first saw it go on PO, right? Because what do we get? 6-8 months now, something like that. Yeah. Kind of that up overall, but it's one of those things that when you finally get it, it's just like, oh, there she is, or there he is, or there it is. And I know it brings a smile to my face when I see, my stuff out and displayed, and just the little nuances and all the detailing. Like the Joker, I have the tweeter head Jokers. I have both of them. I have the OG and I have the new one. That thing you could look at for hours and still find these little things that like, oh, that looks so good. And oh yeah, now I get why this is there. And so for me, it just brings me joy. It just makes me really, really happy to see something kind of come to life right in front of me.
It's funny with these things. Now overall, this is weird because Star Wars is a movie, but like overall, like, okay, I'm not a fan of collecting like comic book, like I don't want a Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man. You know what I mean? Right. I want the comic version. You know what I mean? Right. But like as far as Star Wars goes, like I remember I used to have the Darth Maul premium format, and I never knew he had an earring on. And that's the thing I like about statues is like you find stuff that you didn't know. Like you've been watching stuff like, wait a minute, and like Jabba the Hutt. I used to have a Jabba the Hutt. He had a tattoo on his wrist. That's what I'm saying. So it's like with these things, it's like, wow, I never knew. And you go back, like, oh yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's the thing I love about, one of the things I really like about statues is you find out stuff that you didn't know. You know what I mean? But it's like something about just pulling them fresh out the box, and you've been planning for like however long it takes these things to come out. And this is I'm gonna put it right here, and everything's ready, and finally you get it there, and that satisfaction of seeing it, on your shelf is just. Absolutely, there's nothing like it. It's almost the highest point of ecstasy. Pause, but anyhow. So now you've been in this hobby for a while now. How do you feel about being a female collector in this like male dominated kind of, and everybody's arguing about edition size and this is wrong and that's wrong and all these other stupid problems they come up with?
Oof, that's a loaded question.
That's all right. Just say how you feel.
So let's take it down to brass tacks.
Okay.
As a female in this community, overall, even just in pop culture, comic type of thing, I think that I'm seeing a change. I'm seeing a shift, but I think that a lot of times people think that the girls are for cosplay purposes. That, oh, what skimpy outfit are they going to wear this year to this year's con? They don't, and I'm not going to, I say they, it doesn't mean it's everyone, obviously, but I think that women, girls, have become more serious in their getting involved in this community or in this hobby, because I think that unfortunately that's kind of what we've been looked at is, oh, how is she going to look in a Harley Quinn outfit, or how is she going to look into this type of outfit? Well, we can be serious collectors too. We like comic books just as much as the next guy. We know our stuff. We know our characters. We know our lore. We know our history. And again, I'm starting to see a shift better in that portion. Also, another thing that still drives me a little batty is that we come in all shapes and all sizes and all colors. And I think that this whole thing of you can't have a plus size Harley Quinn, you can't have a whatever. I think that stuff has to stop. It's like full stop. This should bring us all together. I mean, this is everything. It's like music. Like I said, this is every character who fights from the ground up, fights for good, fights against evil. It's something that should bring us all together, no matter what walk of life we come from, no matter what we look like, no matter how we think, how we feel, who we are. Everybody's valid in this type of hobby, and I'd like to see more of that. And it's still, I tried to kind of block it out, but it's very hard, not only as a woman, but also as an Afro-Latina woman. Mm-hmm. I think that there's a lot of change that needs to come with women being accepted overall in this. Okay. As far as me collecting, I can handle the big boys. Like me, I don't care. You know me, I will speak my mind when I have to. And I want other girls and women to understand that they have a place at this table. You know, because again, I think we think, boys read comics. Boys are the ones who were collecting, baseball cards or whatever. Girls do that stuff all the time. And I think that girls shouldn't be afraid, even if you kind of feel certain things, because the more of us in it, the more things have to change. You know what I mean? So I've been welcomed. I haven't felt, personally affronted by anyone as far as, certain things that I've said. That's kind of an overall picture. But those that, I've met wonderful people in this community, like really, really good people. And we all have the same goal, right? We want to buy statues that we love, that we want to bring into our homes, that we want to talk about characters, and we want to talk about cartoons and movies and what's coming up, and, this character's death, and oh my goodness, did you see what happened there? So I personally feel okay. I feel welcome here. I don't have any issue overall with how I've been, accepted and treated and stuff like that. But, more girls, if they like it, do it. Just do it. There's no barrier to it. And, just stand your ground. And if boy gets in your face, pop.
Throat punch.
It's one of those things. It's for everybody. It's for everybody. And even if there are some people who are not accepting of everybody, that has nothing to do with me. That's your issue. I'm still going to do what I want to do because this is for everybody. And that means everybody. So, you're not gonna scare me away because whatever it is. But, I'm okay. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Well, that's good. But you also have cosplayed in the past, though, right?
I have cosplayed in the past. More makeup than anything else, or like maybe tops and stuff. Funny enough, I say that, plus size Harley Quinns are okay. I personally don't feel comfortable wearing them booty shorts. But as far as makeup, yes, I've done cosplay, and I still actually have some that I haven't touched. I was working on a Black Canary for a while. I still think I'm going to finish her up because I have the corset, and I have the wig, and I have the mask. I have the Spider-Man mask. And I have some really nice leather leggings. So I think at some point I may go back to that. It was something that really brought me a lot of joy. I love it. I love the fact that you can just become this other person, this other persona. You love this character. You're like, there's nothing stopping you from adding a little color to your face, putting on a wig, putting on some temporary color, whatever it is, just turn. I mean, even just some of the stuff you see that people do, the lengths people go to create this character in real life because they're so enamored of it. It still to this day boggles my mind, the things that people do in cosplay, because it's huge. It's what I do. That's nothing. That's what I do is so amateurish. It's not even funny. You have people like doing, I'm firing up stuff and building stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I can't do none of that, but I can put on some makeup.
now, have you ever dressed up and gone to like the cons at all, or no?
No, and the year that I was going to go to the con, I forget what happened. I think I was having some personal stuff going on there, and then COVID happened. Then COVID happened, and then I do want to go to New York Comic Con though. I know attendance has still been quite lacking, I think, since COVID or since they reopened up. But I still want to get to New York. I may not make it over to the West Coast, but I still got to. And even we have really good cons in Connecticut. I think it's a terrific con that they have over at the casino, which is a pretty good one. And they bring some good big names there. And I don't know what the hell, even with or without costume, I've never gone. And so that's been. And I think I think I volunteered one year, and I got in as a volunteer, and I ended up getting really, really sick. And so I couldn't volunteer, but I was going to volunteer one year, one of the cons, I forget. But I will eventually at some point get to a con, just accosted by everybody's sweat and can't walk. And it's one of those things like you have to experience. If you're in this, if you love pop culture, I think you have to experience it at least once.
Oh yeah.
And you can complain later about people not wearing deodorant.
And luckily, I haven't had. I mean, I've seen people come, but I've never got the stink part because I've heard that people, they say,
they probably go like really popular days and times that it's just and there's probably also been years that maybe like there's been certain guests that just people want to see and certain panels that people want to get on, and it's just like then you see the videos of like the cell phone videos of panels after, and you're just like, can you imagine just be sitting there and to have seen the actors, or like I remember when they announced the Batman versus
I remember that too, yeah.
And all they did was bring up, it was completely black. And all they did was bring up that people lost their shit. I'm sure somebody died. I'm sure a couple people fainted.
They showed when he turned the bat signal on, they went up in the sky and you saw Superman floating and his eyes lit up with the beams, and then that was it. And you just heard the roar, you know what I mean? And
I love stuff like that. That type of stuff brings people together with one common cause, and it's just like these characters are so part of our fabric of our lives, and we grew up with them, or even if we just discovered them 2 years ago or 10 years ago. It's those things, like even going to the movie opening night. I know some people are like, I hate going to the movies opening night because everybody's screaming. Like, don't go opening night then, because everybody's gonna be screaming, and for me, I don't mind watching the movie twice. I love that immersion of people getting into it. People, it's like Endgame, right? At the end, when everybody comes together, forget it. There's gurneys tearing people out. They couldn't take it. It was too. I love stuff like that because everybody's on the same page. Everybody's excited. Everybody's sad. Everybody's. It just. I don't know. I take a lot of power, I guess, from other people's enjoyment and their involvement and stuff like that. So for me, like that pop culture stuff, just being around people, I thrive on that energy. It really, really. I love the way that makes me feel.
See, it's weird with those panels because, like, Rodney and I had this discussion a lot of times. For me, I don't want to go to that stuff because, like, I don't want to see like makings of and like, because to me, when I find out how they did it, it kind of takes some of the magic away from me. Like, when I'm watching it, oh yeah, they had this on a string, and I'm like, and I think about that when I see it, I'm like, yeah. But see, I don't want to know none of that stuff.
Right. No, I understand.
So I don't care about no panels, and I mean, I guess when they introduced I just wait to see it on YouTube.
Right. I know what you mean. I think that those things for me, like hearing people talk is great, and I love it, and I don't mind that. But I think those moments when they do those big reveals, again,
that's cool. Yeah,
be there, like it's one of those things where like, dude, you gotta like age backwards like 5 years because that energy just rejuvenates you. It's just so amazing. It's like Game of Thrones, when we used to watch it, sometimes we'd have a bunch of people over, we'd go somewhere, and just that people were just entrenched in the stories, and everybody was so on board with so many emotions and stuff. And so I don't know, I take a lot of energy from that, and I feel that that's the way this community is overall.
I used to love because I tried watching it. It just wasn't for me. I'm not dissing nobody else, but I'm just saying. But what I used to love was like right at the end when the last season was out, and you, Rodney, or Tim, it might have been somebody y'all would talk about like every week, and then this last season, y'all this was some jacked up, and I was like, y'all want Vader to watch this mess? And it was funny listening to y'all, the Hound and the Mountain and the River and whoever all these people are. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, who the hell is the Hound, man?
Right.
But I watched the Hound was nice.
Some of it was satisfying, and I think too, a lot of that comes from what we call purists. Like I read the books. A lot of people that read the books, they gave so many, hints as to certain things, and they just never came to fruition. Right. Like literally, people were like roofs were coming off people's houses because they were exploding.
I know.
And it's just like, you mentioned this, you mentioned that. Where's this? Where's that? And just so I think that overall, though, as a whole, even taking that last season, to me and for me, it's probably the best show ever put out there. It just, I don't know. There was just bloodshed everywhere, and just this, you know, you don't see your family member for whatever it was 10 years, and it's just like then everything comes back together. You've got dragons, and it's just one of those things where every week I was just like, hurry up, let's go to Sunday, hurry up, let's get to Sunday, because it's just one of those things where you just needed to know what happened next. And so I think the anger more came with those people who were very much into the lore and very much into the history. I mean, just like you sent me the Star Wars stuff, there are videos of Game of Thrones lore and
I know.
Oh man, some of these things were 30 minutes, 45, and I'd be sitting there watching like, yeah. It's just you just immerse yourself in that world.
I still remember being at work and they were talking about like they were pissed off this last, you know, Vader off to the side, and I was literally like, listen.
You were like, I have no tea. Somebody
like, what you looking at? I was like, I'm just y'all crying about this last season. You know, for some reason, everybody cries. Every show that come on, everybody mad about the last season. You know what I mean? If Dexter ain't like the last season. So I ain't mind the last season of Sons, but a lot of people didn't like the last, you know, how it ended or whatever. But I don't know, man. Just a lot of time.
Sons, I think, is one show I can say that it may not have ended certain, you know, obviously there's certain things you wanted to see, but I think they took that to where they needed to take that to.
Yeah.
I think they did it justice.
That's my favorite show of all his Sons.
Sons of Anarchy, yeah.
Sons, because it was real. Like, this is like real, like stuff you deal with, like, you know, how you gonna get money for this and how you gonna survive this, and you know, I mean, I ain't never had to deal with like going to no prison or nothing like that, thank God. But but you could feel like the pressure, you know, you got pressure coming from this way, and you know, it was like, wow, you know, that show was great. Like all the shows he done tried after that have been kind of but that one,
it always had you on the edge of your seat. It always had you on the edge of your seat. And then when they started going to hour and a half and 2 hours, I was like, we ain't never gonna make it to work. Because what, it used to come out Sundays, right? I was like, we ain't never.
I didn't see it. I didn't. Did I see it when it was like I watched it on whatever Netflix. Yeah, I saw it on Netflix.
Okay, so you binged it out.
I didn't see it when it was on. No.
Ooh, let me tell you what. It was. They're like, oh, this season, all episodes are going to be 90 minutes. Ah, damn it! There goes the bedtime. And you had to sit there and watch it. You couldn't go to bed and not watch it.
That was my show.
I think, you know, obviously I was upset. And if you haven't watched it now and you're watching this interview, you know, poo for you. This is not a spoiler alert. This show's been out for like 20 hours.
Thank you very much.
You know, Tara for me was
oh my God.
I cried hard for that one. I was crying days after that one. And I'm like, this bitch. And then everything that spiraled from there. Yeah. And when they were in the garden, I was like, just shoot her, Jack. Shoot her. She deserves it. God, when the credits was rolling, I was just still sitting there like, right for like 30 more minutes. Did that really just happen? I was like, well, you kind of knew something had to happen because when she walked,
I didn't think it was gonna be that though.
I know she just had a smile on her face, and you're like, this ain't gonna end well. And after it just, you know, the fact of the matter is, you know, Gemma had been playing from day one, even with Jack's father. When you think back of what she did to him, and she played Click, it was never about the family. It was always about saving her own. And so for me, it's just like, you know. But you know,
but it wasn't just that. It was after that. Then Juice comes and kills the police, and it's like, what? You know what I mean? It was crazy.
He got his too, you know. And Juice unfortunately got into his thing because I think it was his race that was an issue, right? And then that's how he started getting into all this. And I was like, but there's so many different people. There was another Puerto Rican with that, but I think he was half black or something, whatever it was. But I was just like, damn it, really? We had to go there? But you know, he got his too. So, but Tara, I think, killed me even more than Opie. And Opie was tough.
You know what? I got big flack over Opie because Tig was my favorite character. And everybody was like, man, it's because your boy, they killed Opie. I was like, you know what I mean? And so everybody took Opie hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they did. But I did. But Tara for me was the one. She was the one.
Tara was rough.
She tore me
But we running low on time here. Trying to think of we covered game because I knew you were big into Game of Thrones and everything. Where do you see as a kind of close, like where do you see your collection going, like going forward? Do you think you're still going to?
I will still, I think I'll always be collecting because I'm not a consistent collector, but if something catches my fancy, I'll absolutely get it. Like Batman from Tweeterhead, that was just teased. Definitely getting that. As long as Two-Face looks great, definitely getting that. I'm still going to pick up that Storm, and I think I may be ordering her in a week or two if she's still available. I think I may be doing that. So it's one of those things where as long as I like it and it's within the budget, I will get it. But I don't think I'm going to be doing full-on collections because even though they're expensive, that can still get really out of control. Yeah. Like the spacing is just, unless you have a full-on basement, like some people, they have that space and that's great. But even then it's full already. So then what do you do? But I'll always be collecting. It's a thing I've become very passionate about. And I think also too, it's just helped me immerse myself more into the characters and their backgrounds. So I do have an appreciation for that now where I'm reading more graphic novels and watching more of the animation stuff and getting just a little more background into where, all these characters fit in. So I think it's just, it's a whole world for me. So I don't think it's ever going to stop.
Okay, well, we'll close on that and appreciate you coming on. It's been great as always.
Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome anytime. So we will catch you folks next time on Just Asking for a Friend. See y'all next time, everybody.